Welcome. Have a seat.
Loke weekly.
Not weekly. We've been.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
We have, what's that line? We have all kinds of reasons. No good excuses, all kinds of reasons.
We definitely do.
We have all kinds of reasons.
All reasons. Yeah.
We've
Some
had
are good excuses.
Well, we've just had
been
things.
busy.
Yeah,
Work's been
we've
busy.
been through a significant FINTRAC audit, or no, an
worst.
almost FINTRAC audit.
It's new, first introduced. They've never had this before, but it was a FINTRAC questionnaire, they called it, and we were selectively chosen, which was lovely of FINTRAC to choose us, and it was awful, and it was not fun, but it was good in the end.
We passed.
We did pass, yeah.
And this is not, I'm gonna say this because it's valid and it's true. Because we operate so tightly as a brokerage, we know that our agents, you guys, avoid the ire of the FINTRAC auditors, because what they do is they start at this high level,
Yeah.
and it's this, like, call it like a pre-audit. And if they see issues, then they dig deeper. And if they find issues in the brokerage, then they go deep into the agents. And when they got with us at a first level, we know that we operate in the 1 percentile in terms of how well we do things. They move on and they don't look close at anything else. And we know that if we were put under a full microscope, if you guys were put under a full microscope, as well as we try to operate, there would still be problems, but
They can always find something.
they can always
so you
find
don't
something.
wanna know
But
this.
we've passed and they've moved on, and that is good news for us and good news for you guys.
Very.
But do not take, I know we've been talking about FINTRAC a lot in the last few weeks, and people are probably getting tired of it, but all of this is just purely out of, we want everyone to avoid fines because it's significant money.
They're not small.
They're not small. And so reason to celebrate that the brokerage passed, and we don't see any thing coming for any of our agents, which is great. But keep doing the things that we tell you to do. Take the training.
Stuff we require.
Every 2 years.
You probably got bugged by us a lot in the
Read
last
your
couple weeks.
frickin' emails that we send you.
Or we'll just keep resending them.
We're not doing this for fun. It's not
No,
fun for
it's not
Justin,
fun at
not
all.
fun for any of us, but we don't want big fines. So reason to celebrate.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
thank you for spearheading that.
I'm glad it's done.
We should talk a little bit about the market.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is interesting. Inventory has dropped again a little bit.
Okay.
So we've risen
Yeah.
all spring, right? And we actually crossed 10,000 homes for sale, 10,000 properties for sale in the Fraser Valley. And in the last month, inventory has gone down, and we're now not down significantly, but we've dropped below the 1,000 property mark, and we're at about 9,900. And I mean, I'm not trying to make any significant statement about the market turning around here.
Were sales up in that time?
Yeah. So, and if you look at new listings and sales data combined, so I'll just rattle some stuff off here. So in 18 of 21 working days right now, okay, for the month of June, I'm just reading off of Paragon here, 3,246 listings processed.
Okay.
Okay. Last month, 3,497, so 3,500. Okay. So like, what would that be?
10%
Roughly
almost.
10% more last month. So we've dropped on new listings by 10%. Sales are almost identical month over month. They're within like a handful. We are almost at June level sales. So in June of last year, and I know June wasn't amazing last year, but June of last year, at 18 days, 1,171 sales.
Yeah.
Currently, we're at 1,008.
So
Okay, so we're 10% lower-ish or whatever. But the big thing is new listings dropped month over month, which I don't know what to make of that. Like, and what that has equated to actually is a slight drop in inventory as well, because like I said, we were over 1,000 and now we're under 1,000.
Yep.
I can say anecdotally, like in the last 10 to 12 days, and I don't have the numbers yet, but David says that brokerage wide in all of our locations, transactions have spiked way up again.
Yeah.
So we'll obviously, have
listings were actually doing pretty good for brokerage wise as well over the last.
Oh yeah, no listing. We got no issue with listings.
Yeah.
We got lots of listings, but I mean listings. It's like they got to be priced right. They got to be saleable.
Yeah.
But the indicator of like, are people making money is deals, right? Like we need deals to make money, and deals have spiked significantly up. Again, I don't have data on that. It's just me and David talking in his office about stuff that's coming in. But every time he says that, it's an indicator of something that's happening. So that's interesting. I would say,
numbers aside, have you noticed a difference yourself, like within the business?
I would answer that this way. I would say we have markets that are hard to gauge are markets that are drastically changing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and even when things are going up drastically, like when you're in the middle of 2020 or 2021 and you're repping a buyer, it's brutal. Like, what's it worth? I got no freaking clue.
idea.
Right.
Sure.
Well, the same is true in a sharp downward trend like what we've been in. Right. So the adjusting period is the period of most uncertainty. It's when people are loaded with fear. I mean, obviously, here we went through this time of trade war talk and threats of this and threat of that, and it just froze. Remember, we talked about anxiety and people freezing. I feel like we are settling into a new norm.
Okay.
And so the conversations of having to convince people where we're at are becoming easier and easier, because the longer that you sit in this, like the more data that compiles, like you can have a conversation with a client in February and fight about, what the value of the listing is, right? But then between February and now, if there's been 4 sales of similar properties at lower numbers, well, it's not a fight anymore. It's like, this is reality. So I think we're getting through what is this mental adjustment, and there's an acceptance of a new reality. And so I remember, again, the only thing I can equate to is, post-financial crisis. I remember going through the sharp change. That was very, very difficult. But then once we leveled out, we actually had a fairly flat market, price movement wise, for most of the end of 2009, 10, 11, 12. Like, if you look at the data of those years, prices barely fluctuated up and down for about 3 years. It was all the same. That is a lot easier than when you're doing this or doing this, because you've got enough data to say, like, here's what it is. And so,
do you feel like we're kind of in that right now?
Well, I'm sure, if you polled 100 agents, you'd get a variety of answers. I feel like the market is accepting reality more so than it was 4 or 5 months ago. We still don't have a high volume of transactions. Like, our transaction count is still, historically compared to 10-year averages, like, I would say we're probably tracking about 25% off of 10-year averages, which, that's the really difficult thing for us, right? And I might even be low on that. It might be like 30 to 40% off 10-year averages. We are like less than 50% of what we were doing in COVID, right? Like, on a monthly basis in COVID, we had some months where there was 3,000 transactions, but every month was over 2,000 transactions in the selling season. And now we're at about 1,000 or a little over 1,000. But a normal, like, if you look historically, a normal year would do, the normal month, an average of like, 1,500 transactions a month. Like, that's not crazy hot. That's just normal. In a year, if in the whole board you sold, between 18 and 20,000 homes a year, we had 30,000 in COVID or more. But, that would be the type of environment where agents in general would feel much better about things. Like, just imagine if everybody, whatever your number is, like if you've sold 6 homes year to date, but you had sold 9 or 8, just 2 or 3 more, that makes
big difference.
That makes a big difference. So where the pie is still very, very small. However, I sense the conversation's changing and there's an acceptance of where we're at. And then the other thing that is happening, I'm going to pull up this article actually. This is, dare I say, I don't want to say I predicted this, but I did kind of, I did kind of predict it. Does anybody else's children text them incessantly over summer holidays? I literally have 2 texts that just came in. My oldest daughter, call me when you are free. My youngest daughter, a minute later, are you busy today? It's like, unbelievable.
Just go outside and play.
Oh, frick. Here, I'm just going to pull up this article. CTV News. So I said, remember we talked election, and I said, short term, I said, I'm voting conservative. I'm not voting liberal. But I said, short term, I could see a scenario where we as the real estate community benefit quicker from a liberal government than a conservative government because of the liberals' inability to not spend money. They will just, that's what they do. They'll spend money. So there's an article that hits CTV News. So I'm on a call. I was on a national call with some other broker owners this week. And we talked about exactly this because some of the guys in the circle are quite connected to Ottawa, let's say, people in Toronto, center of the universe. And they said that they're hearing that some big government bills are about to land. And it's going to be,
I heard about one of them.
It's government stimulus, right? Like, I mean, it's cloaked in, it's an infrastructure bill. It's a whatever. So this is the article in CTV News that dropped yesterday. Minister calls for wartime effort to build infrastructure. So I laughed out loud when I saw this because this was literally what we were talking about a week earlier. And I think what we're going to see in a different way, but similar, like when we went through post-COVID or post-financial crisis, the Build Back Canada Better plan or whatever the heck they called it at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just government stimulating the private sector, the government sector, just to create traction in the economy. And I mean, it worked. And the real estate market took off. Now, again, remember, we don't need prices to take off, nor does anyone want prices to take off.
Right.
We need volume of transactions. Well, the number one thing that is preventing volume of transactions today is one thing only, is consumer confidence. That's it. And so if we get more stories in the newspaper of government planning to do this. They're going to put money into the oil sector. It's going to be battery plants. And they're going to be building these highways and bridges and, whatever. Government's going to incentivize cities to do this by giving them this much money. That's all positive news cycle. And then if you start to see some things move as a result, again, this 1,000 to 1,100 transactions a month, it doesn't take much for that to bump to 1,300, 1,400, 1,500. And if we get into those 10-year averages of 1,400 and 1,500, that's an incredibly different environment for us to be working in. Now, it doesn't, the home that was 1.6 and today is 1.15 or 1.2, that might remain unchanged.
Right.
So, there's still pain there from people who bought high. But let's be honest, the vast majority of the market did not buy their home in the peak of 21 and 22.
Right.
They probably bought their home 5-6 years previous to that. People got lots of equity. The reason they're not transacting right now is because they're afraid. And we'll unlock that fear the moment we can get positive news cycles. And that article is the first of its kind that I have seen. Since we went through the election, I've not seen a single article that was anything like that. And I think we're going to see more of that.
Has the cost of borrowing changed much? Like I know we talked about variable was moving all over the place, but
well, we've got problem is I mean, how deep do you want to get in this convo? We got I can go straight nerd if you want me to go straight nerd. I love
numbers. But
okay, so
I don't want to bore people.
We got to talk about bond markets.
Yeah.
If you talk about the bond markets, then you got to talk about the US because sorry, in a world stage, Canada doesn't matter.
Sure.
So the US bond market, so I'll just give a little bit of a 2-year-old explanation here to the best that I can. When bond yields, when people want to buy American debt, okay, and the American economy and the dollar is attractive, imagine when someone wants to buy something from you and it's in demand, you can give a lower yield, right? Because you go, well, everybody wants to buy my greenback. My greenback is the best. So if you buy my greenback, I'm only going to pay you 3% because everybody in the world wants it. And so when you have a strong U.S. economy and a strong U.S. dollar, the bond market, when people say the bond market drops, what that means is the yields are dropping, okay? So we've been in a season for a long time where the U.S. economy has been strong and the dollar has been strong and everybody in the world wants to buy it. And so yields have been low, right? When yields are low, fixed term lending rates are low because that is the driver of the cost of fixed term lending rates, okay? Now, the U.S. economy has been in flux, right?
Yep.
Trump comes in and Trump goes, we're doing this, we're doing that.
Sure.
And actually, I'd be the first one to argue that some of the things that he's doing are very, very good, but short term, there's some negative consequences. And some of the negative consequences are the whole world reacts and goes, whoa, 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 this is instability. We don't want to buy your bonds anymore. Or if we do buy them, you aren't paying us 3%, you're paying us 5% or 4% because it's not as attractive, right? So as the yields have to go up in order to attract the purchasers, what happens to fixed lending rates? They go up, okay? So that is how the bond relationship works to the lending world.
Right.
And the number one driver in our Western world, like the US dictates where everything goes, right? Now, we've got some of our own mechanisms, and the diehard Canadians would say, no, 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 we're not driven by the US, we're our own market, whatever. You're the size of one state. 80% of our product goes into the US. You know, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, we kind of operate like a 51st state in a lot of ways.
Okay.
We do. So our, at least financially, we're very, very tied to them. So bond yields have gone up, which means fixed rate lending has gone up.
Right.
For fixed rates to come down, we are going to have to see bond yields drop. Well, how do bond yields drop? Only if our dollar and economy can strengthen in the world markets. That's a difficult thing. Now, there's different drivers for the Canadian market than there is for the US market.
Right.
We are independent, but we're so tied to them. It's really hard to see a scenario where, you know, is there scenarios where the US drops and we go up? Yes. In fact, we've seen our dollar strengthen to the US dollar in the past 2 months, but then guess what happened in the last couple of days?
Right.
Our dollar dropped again.
Yep.
So we're just so interconnected. And, you know, I don't know. This is where the extent of my knowledge stops. Like, I don't know how to predict what the bond market is going to do in the next year or 2 years. And I'm not familiar enough with all of the mechanisms. But you would need to see the world want more of US bonds in order to see yields drop.
So we've just seen it's been pretty static then still for our fixed rates.
Yeah, because the Canadian bond yields have been doing the same thing. We keep actually bumping up, not going down.
Right.
And so as long as we're bumping up, you see fixed money higher. Now, you know, the Bank of Canada key lending rate announcements that we go through every, 6-7 weeks. That's the variable rate market, right? That is completely different than the fixed. And so now what we've got in our lending world is we have scenarios where 5-year variable rates are lower than any fixed rate you can get. So like an example, I'm just talking to Logan Cameron 2 hours ago, and he's got a deal he's doing where his buyer is getting prime minus, it's like 0.6 or 0.7. So the bank's prime right now, I believe, is like 4.2. So the effective lending rate is like 3.6, or, give or take a few points.
Yep.
That's at least half a point lower than anything you can get in the fixed world right now. So that's interesting because banks don't want to see more than a certain percentage of their lending portfolio go into variable money for obvious reasons. They have thresholds, and I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say they don't want more than 30% of their book or whatever it is. We've been in cycles like this before where, like, I could think back, I want to say it was like maybe 2013, 14 or something like that, where, depending on what was going on in the lending world, it became very favorable to be in the variable market. And so a bunch of the money poured into the variable market. And when that happened, banks pull the puppet strings. They go, whoa, 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 we don't want that much of our book in the variable. And then they drop their fixed rates in order to try to pull some of the book out of the variable into the fixed market. So we may see that. We haven't seen it yet, but right now, variable money is cheaper than fixed term money.
Cool.
So you can get you can get a mortgage today, variable mortgage at 3.5, 3.6. And what's amazing, like when you think about this, we've talked about this in office meetings before. If you go back to the fall of 2023, when we were at the peak of our lending rate hikes, right? Like that was the most expensive interest rates had been. I think back then, like the cheapest rates, even in the variable world, people were getting were like above 5.
Yeah.
It was like 5.25, 5.5, something like that. prices were higher,
Mm-hmm.
lending rates were higher. People were transacting at that time way more than they're transacting today.
Crazy.
So homes are more expensive and they cost more. Like, it wasn't a math conversation, right? So that's why when you look at where we are today, you find any sale you want in the fall of 23 and run it against an analysis today. You can buy it for less, you can finance it for less. It's a
Right.
way better purchase today. The only thing that's different is consumer confidence.
Right.
It's all in the brain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was the market conditions. We covered that pretty good. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Got to be careful how much you say you like what Trump's doing. People get a little spicy on the other side.
Especially at this-
People get a little spicy on the other side of the table.
You got to pick when you say that.
You could see his tone change there for a second. Policy. I'm talking some
You
policy.
can see my eyes glaze.
Started-
You know, I
you
started
got a
going,
bit of
how
a-
do I shift this a little bit?
Bit of a twitch. I'm going to edit that part out.
Yeah, right.
I thought there was something else. We talked about FINTRAC. We talked about. Oh, I want to talk about a little bit of a 2-year Royal LePage story. So we've just went through our 2-year anniversary.
We did.
Of having joined Royal LePage.
Mm-hmm.
What a full story that's been. I mean, that was obviously a very difficult season that we went through
It was.
at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But, we felt very strongly that we made the right decisions when we made them, as hard as those decisions were.
I
And
feel even better about those decisions now, too.
oh gosh, we feel good about those
Was
decisions.
worth the struggle, but it was a struggle.
Here we are 2 years later, and I mean, there's kind of a few pieces to this story. And one of the pieces is that, for a long time, there was a lot of things said about from the powers that be on the other side. They're going to shut us down. They're going to sue us. We're going to be done, whatever. That was all absolute garbage. And everything is completely over, and they tucked tail and went away, and they told a lot of lies, and those lies didn't come to fruition. So we're still here, and they got nothing to say about it. So that's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw, to the extent that we could see it, we were very convinced that being aligned with Royal LePage was the right thing for the future. And we made that decision when it wasn't sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we hadn't gone through a Trump war or a trade war where, all of a sudden now it's, buying Canadian and owning Canadian is the best thing. This was 2 years ago, and we were questioned in our decision making, but we looked deep at a lot of the layers of, what it takes to operate a brokerage in a Canadian market and have Canadian support and Canadian leadership and all these things. And so looking back 2 years, we couldn't be happier and feel more vindicated. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
vindicated about the decision we made. And then what is really, really assuring and makes us feel good is that so we made the change, and we were like, Royal LePage had not, taken on a brokerage of our size and stature in a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a big deal. When you have a top reputation, big brand company that has a ton of market share, do that. Like,
especially coming from such a major competitor.
Well, coming from the number one competitor, right? And so that's a big deal when that happens. But that happening has triggered a tremendous amount of movement in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So months after that happened, what was Keller Williams Elite West, which is over on the other side of the river, Maple Ridge, who was also very unhappy with their American-owned, American-operated, American-led operation, phones us up and goes, holy shit, what did you guys just do?
Yeah, right.
Because they were wanting to do the same thing, but they hadn't had the courage to take the jump.
Sure.
So months after we made the jump, they make the jump. 180 agents gone into the RLP family. Then shortly after that, there was another one in Ontario, and I can't remember the name, but there was a fairly sizable 150 man or something like that operation in Ontario. Then most recently, there was a big story in Alberta about some stuff that went on at a Remax brokerage, and there were some shady things that went on inside the brokerage. Remax
With like 2 people.
with 2 people.
Yeah.
So there's 200 agents. One of the top, actually the highest
They were
producing
the top Remax.
Remax brokerage in the country
Yeah, in all of Canada.
for years.
Mm-hmm.
They kicked them out of the organization. Kind of like they like to do.
I know what that feels like.
Kind of like they know, they kicked the whole lot of them out.
Yeah.
A bunch of them scatter and go to other, but they literally debranded them. A bunch of them scatter and go to some other Remax brokerages, but there's 100 and some odd agents.
They were given 9 days.
They're given 9 days. So 100 and some odd agents are now pissed at Remax for pulling the rug out from underneath them. Well, what did they do? They called up RLP and they said, we're tired of this garbage. We want to be associated with a Canadian company.
I talked to one of their guys there.
So RLP, as of like a few weeks ago, has now welcomed a brand new group of 100 and some odd agents in the Calgary area into the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 days ago, the largest Keller Williams in the country, 600-man operation, has just flipped the whole thing to Royal LePage in Ontario. And I was slightly, I don't want to say involved, but I was aware of that because the people out here in BC who we talked to, Elite West, they were involved in helping those guys and talking those guys through that. So here's the story on the streets, everybody. Being involved with a Canadian run and led organization is where you want to be. I can tell you it's where you want to be from a broker owner perspective, and it's also where you want to be from an agent perspective. And 2 years ago, that was a tough time. We were questioned for our decision making, but we were resolute. We knew we were doing the right thing. And now to see the rest of the market, and there, by the way, there is a lot of other movement going on. I'm in broker circles, all brands across the country. I know the talk. I know what people say behind closed doors, and I know what everyone's looking at right now. They're looking at RLP from all brands. And I know that all the other brands, all the other people that we're familiar with, they're shitting their pants. And I've heard it from the horse's mouth. They are shitting their pants because they know that their U.S.-led offerings don't work. It doesn't work. So anyways, I'm saying that because I'm blowing our own horn. We're feeling good. We love the decision we made. We love where we're heading as a company. We're growing. We're attracting.
We've seen some great growth recently.
And so I just wanted to tell that story. I wanted to say that out loud and tell everybody that we're on the right track. And we love that the market is recognizing the decision we made as the right decision. There's other people who are jumping on board. So
feels good.
There we go. I had to say that. And on that topic, so we've everyone knows that we're always growing, but we've got well, I can't drop any names right now. We've got some great agents joining us here in the next week who are very high profile, high level people that we all know and love. And they too not only want to be a part of Little Oak, but they want to be aligned with the RLP brand. They see the value in that moving forward.
It's awesome.
So
more to come.
That was a bit of a rant, but I had to get that out. I had to get that off my chest.
It feels good, though.
Yeah, it does feel good.
It does feel good.
You know what? It feels good when leadership is tough, and sometimes you got to make decisions that aren't popular, and people question you. And here's the truth: you question yourself.
Sure.
Right? You stare in the mirror, and you wake up in the morning, and you go, "Did we do the right thing?" And sometimes the results of the right decision, they don't come right away.
No.
And so we had to climb through 2 miles of shit to come out smelling clean on the other side. And now, today, it's phenomenal. But that doesn't mean that we didn't go through a tremendous amount of pain and a tremendous amount of ridicule, and people said a lot of things. And I couldn't be happier with our decision. And I'm very happy that the whole Canadian market is now moving in the direction that, we felt resolute about a little over 2 years ago.
Yeah, and incredibly grateful to the ones who wrote it with us. Through with us.
Thank you for saying that. Well said. We know that was, that was hard for people, and those that rode this journey with us. All we can say is thank you.
Thanks isn't even enough.
Yep.
Agreed.
Okay.
What do we got coming up? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
So some fun stuff coming.
Golf tourney, there's no need to sign
Baseball's
up.
first.
Baseball's first. Yeah. You don't have to sign up for these things yet. We're just kind of putting it out here before summer. So we've been doing this baseball tournament, which is generously and enthusiastically sponsored by Dan Fedosenko, Mr. Home Inspector. He's been doing this for a long time.
We've been connected with him on that for a long time.
He is an incredible guy. So just if you need a home inspector, Mr. Home Inspector, Dan has been
Awesome.
great to our brokerage. I hire him all the time. Him
Yep.
and his people are great. And he really takes on this baseball thing. I don't even know what got him started on it. I don't
I
know.
have no idea.
But
Does he oversee the whole thing?
yeah, like so the Fraser Valley Board puts on a baseball tournament,
Yeah.
which is an absolute hoot. And
Yeah.
like, I haven't been doing it for a long time. Like, I've only been doing it for a handful of years. It's a full day, softball city in South Surrey.
Yep.
I want to say there's like 16, 20 brokerages that put teams in.
Yep.
It's like hard to get a spot. We've been in there, and now that we have our
Forever,
spot, we get one every year. Dan sponsors it. We got, unis and uniforms and hats and whatever, and he's got his branding on there and our branding. And so we've been putting teams together for years, and I would say that our teams generally haven't been competitive. We have a lot of fun,
Just
but
fun.
we haven't been competitive. However, that being said, the team's been getting better.
Yeah.
And last year, I think that we got into the winner's side, and I want to say that we finished like maybe 4th.
Okay.
We didn't make the final. Maybe we were in the consolation, and I don't know. I just know that we got into the playoffs.
Did you have fun?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of fun. But what's more fun, winning or losing?
Yeah.
Winning's more fun. So all I'm saying is that, we got some talent. I think we've added some talent in the last year as well.
Yep.
So September 5, it's a riot. You start early. It's a long, exhausting day.
Yep.
Like you're cooked at the end. Lunch, there's lunch and, maybe the odd beer or something like that.
Sure.
But honestly, like we've played like the last couple of years, I think it's been like over 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Like you're not drinking beer. Like you are chugging water because you're playing like 5-6 baseball games and you got to stay hydrated.
Yep.
One of the years that we played, it was in one of those like heat dome years or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we played in like 36, 37 degree weather. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. Yeah, So, anyways, that's September 5. I don't know when the invite's going to come out for that. And, we are limited. But we always need spares. So, like, even if, like, let's say, I don't know, there's 12 people on a field or whatever it is, we can easily have 15, 16 people on the team because it's hard to come for the whole day. People get injured, dehydrated, all those things. So,
well, we have agents from other brokerages that aren't part of it that want to be a part of our team. So
yeah, but we're not going to.
We don't want that.
We're not going to have room for them because we're going to have. There's a bunch of ball players in North Star.
Yep.
Who some of them were there last year, and then I know we've got some ball players who haven't come before, and I don't know why, but they're going to come this year. So
sweet.
Just be watching for that.
Yeah, it'll be coming. Yeah. Summertime.
Golf tourney. So again, there's nothing to do right now, but it's September 18th.
Yeah, keep it in your calendar.
We are joining forces with Royal LePage Elite, previous Keller Williams Elite. So we're doing the same course that we've done for the last 2 years, or was it 1 year?
One for sure.
What's it called again? It's the one we were at last year.
Poppy, is it?
Poppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Poppy. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So full shotgun.
This is a full shotgun.
We're doing
too. We didn't do that last year. We didn't have the full course shotgun at the same time, I don't think, last year.
Well, we did an afternoon shotgun. Everyone started at the same time.
Yeah, but I think we have with Elite West, we're actually like
we're buying out the whole course. Yeah. So, but it's still an afternoon. It's not a morning. It's going to be like a 1 or 1:30 tee off. Then we have dinner afterwards.
Yep.
We're going to have Elite West in with us. They're going to, I mean, they won't quite be the size we are. Where I think we've got maybe room for 45 and Elite West has got room for 20 or something. But it'll be a full group dinner, the whole bit.
Yep.
And that is September 18th. So just keep that in your calendar. Just block the day off.
It was so much fun. It's so much fun. Even if you're not a golfer.
Block the day off from like 11 a.m. for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Block it off now so that you can't say that you can't do it.
September 18th.
September 18th.
It's not changing.
Yeah. And then pray that the weather's good because we're going to have good weather.
If it rains, it rains.
Yeah. It was a little bit dicey last year.
It was.
We got some rain.
Had some moments
that was the first year in a long time that we've had problems. Like normally our weather is perfect.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And September is usually really good weather, but we had a bit of rain.
Just a little bit. It was a little overcast. Which is not a bad way to golf.
No, overcast I'm fine with. I just don't want rain. Yeah. I think that's all I got. Did you have anything?
My brain is cooked. So
because you've just been doing.
It's been FINTRAC and tech for like
and tech.
a month.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we can. When are we going to do this? So it's June. I'm going away a little bit at the beginning of July. We probably might not do this till later in July again. Oh, maybe we'll do another one before. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, thanks, dude. See you, everybody.